Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to me drawing, or coloring, actually. So this is a commission I did. Harley Quinn Punchline. First time I ever drew Punchline. I did have a request from the person who commissioned it that he wanted Harley to sort of wear the corset outfit from the Arkham Asylum game, which I kind of forgot in my initial sketch. So to kind of go back and add the corset top. I did give her a bit of the original face mask, though, because I do like that old school look. Now on to the colors. So I'm going to do a base with basically Copic marker, and then I'm going to do color pencil scribbly on top and a watercolor distressing background. Part of this is I used to do the whole thing in color pencil, but aside from tripling the rendering time, which color pencils move slow, honestly, I was just getting inconsistent results, like with skin tones and stuff. Like sometimes it looked great, sometimes it wouldn't. So I have over the past year done a lot of experiments where I just use sort of some really base light Copic colors to kind of get flats kind of worked in, basically. In the same way digitally, where you'd have flats, and then render on top. Same basic idea. So this way I can keep some consistency across multiple pieces. You don't have to. You can do full color pencil. Again, it will double, sometimes quadruple rendering times, depending on how fast or slow you work. Now, you're going to see here, I'm putting orange down where the red would be. That's partly because I have found with reds, I get inconsistent results by just using a red. Sometimes they look a little dull or flat to me. So I will put down a warm color or even a cool color before adding a red down, depending on how I want the red to go. So if I want a little bit of that orange underneath, see, you don't have to even like completely put the marker over every piece. You just kind of scribble it over. It does help to have sort of a semi-dry marker. I've been using the same Copics. I just replaced the tips now for about 10 years, and I just sort of manually put a few drops in to recharge it, so they're not super juicy. I hate to use that word, but if you know what I mean, if you ever use Copics, they will sort of sometimes blob too much alcohol out. Even ooh-hoo-hoos can do that, whatever. It happens with alcohol markers. But I keep it a little on the drier side, so that way I can sort of layer stuff in. And then here with her top of her hair, again, you'll just sort of see I'll get a very base color going. I won't even try to blend it at all. Like the cut markers aren't being used for final rendering. I'll do all that in color pencil. And I'll be honest, man, for a lot of commissions, that would be good to go. There's some really great commission artists out there that they're like, that's the commission. I get it. But for myself, I do like the scribbly look. So I do more work for less money, I guess. That's whatever. With the purples, so Punchline has like this black and purple scheme. So what I did is I did purple all over. This is like a V04. It's really light purple underneath, and then I added a C7 gray on top on where the black parts will go. So you still get some of that purple underneath, and that, remember, keeping colors sort of linked together for the character, even if they're undercolors, helps bind the whole thing together. It's not as big a deal when you're doing digital, but when you're doing traditional colors, if you do want color harmony, again, like her hair is black, so even though she has some blue in her hair, I put blue as the undercolor and then did the C7 on top. And then here you'll see me just blending with color pencil. Okay? So I can blend that red right in there. And color pencil, again, depending on how light you add it, even a dark color pencil can go super light if you just use less pressure. If you're having trouble with pressure, I always recommend holding farther back on the pencil. Don't just burnish, don't grab the very front. So you'll see me pull a little further back when I want lighter. You'll see me go hold a little closer to the tip when I want a little bit more pigment out of the color pencil. And then again, that also, it will save your knuckles. Your hand a tremendous amount of pain over the course of time. I have no hand fatigue when I get done using color pencil. So that's where you want to aim for. No hand fatigue whatsoever. You don't want to give yourself carpal tunnel. So less pressure all together. And then I'll put some pink here into the whites. And because I put some pink into the whites, I'm going to throw some pink into some of the other color, so particularly the blacks, just to keep, again, that color a little harmonious across the entire figure. And then now I'm going to go, I guess, with some black. It's some black or indigo. I can't remember which color pencil. Sometimes I start with the indigo and then go to black. Which is what I may be doing here, but it also may be black. I'm not really thinking when I do this at this point. Like, I'm just moving right along, you know. But if you do start with indigo, the reason for doing that is that it gives you more room to push a black. So, which is nice because you can always go darker, but you can't really go back to light unless you use like an opaque pink or something like that. So this mallet was super fun to render. Really love drawing and doing oversized, you know, cartoonish elements. It was a little tricky to get the color down. Like, does the little tufts there have blue or pink? Do they have indigo? Do they have purple? Like, I put a little bit of everything. Which is another tip I want to give, or some advice I'd like to give out. Because color pencils layer really nicely, you can put a little bit of every color into something and try not to do that. Sometimes you'll see color pencil artists end up doing like orange, pink, blue, green faces, and like, because you can layer all kinds of color. And look, if that's what you're going for, great. But for myself, I have found that try to stick to a few colors and use the most out of that. And you could throw a little bit of color fluctuation in there, no doubt, you know, but be careful about that because you can just rainbow everything. So again, you'll see me color fluctuation. I'm putting a couple different blues and purples in there, but that's because I have that undercolor. And because it's going into black, you know, putting a little bit of blues, a little bit of purple into the indigo and black will give it some chromatic fun, some chromatic black, as opposed to just like a dull, straight black. However, don't put reds and greens and oranges. Try to keep it on point. I'm unfamiliar with Punchline. It's kind of a newer character. Thought her design was interesting, but I gave her green weapons because apparently she's Joker's, like one of Joker's little hench people or team up people, whatever. I'm sure fans of Punchline are going to school me in the comments. However, I did think because she was pro Joker, she needed more green in her outfit somewhere. So that's the reason why I went with the green weapons. And then now I'm adding some ballpoint pen to add in color saturation. The oil-based ballpoint pens have really good like ink-like saturation. So if you want to throw some vibrancy back in, that color pencil may not be giving you, some ballpoint pen is the way to go. And I stick with the oil-based ones because they're waterproof. Why? Because of this. When I'm throwing in watercolor or distress ink, which is a combination of both, which is basically the same thing. It's just depending on what you want to do. Water-based media, I try to make sure that if I'm putting water-based media on a piece, that everything else is waterproof. The alcohol markers, the color pencil, and the ballpoint. Otherwise, if it gets wet, you're gonna have a big smeary blob of something running down your piece, your final image. And this is one of the things with the background. I went with this pink to toxic yellow greenish thing, but I didn't. And looking at it now, I kind of think I probably could have just done that background with that one color and didn't need to do a full edge to edge background. But I did want to do a full edge to edge painted BG. And when I get to the top here, I'm like, I don't know if this is working at all. It's like now I'm looking at the background and not at the characters. So you're going to see a little bit of a jump. That's it right there. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. And that was me taking a break and then figuring out value-wise, how can I make it so you still see the characters? So I darkened the top just using some, not black, but like some dark purple, some mahogany. I darkened that, and then I added some more green into the edges there to tie in around it. So the brightest part of that watercolor background is the center. And now I'm adding a white outline with with Posca. Here's some white Posca. One, to give it some scribbly fun, and two, to make certain that since they're edged out, since they have like a white stroke around them, that they'll pop and you'll look in the center of the image. So it's one of those things when when you're working with traditional media, you gotta like be very aware of your values, you know, like even if you're having scribbly color fun, values do matter. So it's a lesson I constantly have to remind myself. I'm no master at it, but here I'm just adding little edge highlights, a little bit of cream, a little bit of green, popping some saturation back in with that ball point there in her hair, just to brighten the hair up a little bit. And then kind of blending some of these edges with the Posca. Now the Posca puts down a rough acrylic paint edge. You can always go back in with the color pencil around the edge and fade it out. So if you get too harsh an edge, you can fade that back out with color pencil. And then if you went too far, put some Posca back in, and you know, you can, eventually you'll just get pretty good at it. You won't have to do too much, but throw a little pink stroke around there on the edge just to kind of tone down some of the white, and add again more of that scribbly fun, and a little bit of blue here, teal. And we're gonna wrap this up. So if you'd like a more in-depth conversation, if 12 minutes isn't enough for you, I do have a full 3.5 hour long one going up as well, which Uncle Jerk joins me, and we get into it. If you want to know the whole process from beginning to end and my thoughts on it, you can watch that. Otherwise, join me again here next time when I share with you another commission I always got a bunch of these, so I'm going to share them as much as I possibly can. And if you'd like to support me too, you can go to sketchcraft.com and get a commission, buy a piece of art. Let me know what you think. Oh, look at that highlight right there with the Posca. Freehanding that highlight, which I was a little nervous, but then I'm like, I know how to draw a straight enough line. You know, like I don't need it. I'm always nervous putting a ruler down because it can scrape up the paint or smudge. So I'm like, whatever, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. And if you put a little squiggly in there, then it's fine. And probably a couple little splats, and I think that's it, right? A little acrylic paint, a little acrylic splatter for fun. There we go. Boom, done. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. I'll talk to you next time on Sketchcraft. All right, peace.